The thing that's going to happen, though, is we're going to start the show.
Well, Paul, as usual, I have done things correctly. I have done my research. Thankfully, I have watched all the latest Star Wars movies because Jedis just keep coming back into our lives. And
Wow. I was wondering where that was going.
yeah, for those who aren't aware, this morning, Frank Shaw, head of communications, lobbed a I don't know, Sith Lord or something over at Amazon.
He is kind of a Sith.
Wrote a post because Amazon is now quietly trying to stop the Jedi contract that Microsoft got after winning the initial thing and then winning again in court. And then now Amazon's like privately petitioning the DoD to stop it. And
Yep. Amazon. So the Frank Shaw thing is interesting on its own note. You know, Frank is an ex-Marine. He uses a lot of military references in his little post, which is appropriate because, you know, Jedi is for the DoD, et cetera. It worked out great in the prequel series, you know, Jedi and the military together. Anyway, but then Amazon came back with their own little post. And if you haven't read it, I strongly recommend it. It's fun. It is nuts. It's nuts. Whoever wrote that, it's like their head of communications, I think, is completely unhinged. It is absolutely worth reading. It's crazy. but anyway, I haven't responded to this yet. I got an email from someone on Microsoft's government something. Let me see. Government affairs team. Sorry. And I'm not going to go through this, but he takes exception to it. So I had written because when the DoD did a review of how they awarded this contract, one of the things that they actually said was, you know, because one of the accusations is that the White House influenced the decision.
Yep.
So as part of their review process, they went to the White House and wanted to ask employees there if this was the case. And the White House barred any of them from talking to these people. And so they said, well, we can't, from what we can investigate, we didn't see any influence. But I mean, obviously the White House influenced this decision. Right. I mean, it's crazy. But, the central complaint about Amazon, or about the contract going to Microsoft was that, and Amazon says this, like anyone with any knowledge of this agrees that Amazon had the better solution. I'm not sure what to say to that. I mean, I agree that there was some talk of that, but I don't know where that came from. I don't understand how Amazon could possibly do a better job at this than Microsoft. In fact, I think Microsoft is uniquely situated to solve this problem. But the other fact, regardless of what anyone thinks about any of that, is Amazon overbid, and they went with the lower bidder. So. Yeah. One of the Microsoft things that came out from the Frank Shaw thing was like, you can't just like find out what our bid was and then now try to underbid us. Like, it's over. Like, you lost. Yeah. And that does seem to be the case.
Yeah. When I was sitting in high school and we were learning about nuclear war, I never realized that it could potentially be Amazon versus Microsoft. I always thought it'd be like U.S. versus USSR, but these two companies could probably build their own nuke if they wanted.
That's true. Well, this is the science fiction of the future, as envisioned by many, but for popular culture references, think of the Alien movies where great corporations run things, not governments, right? It's easy to see that future when you look at some of the tech giants today. I mean, these are companies that have GDPs greater than a lot of, nations or even groups of nations. So, sure.
Yeah, Microsoft is larger than Turks and Caicos, which is where I want to take a vacation someday. But
they're probably bigger than Germany or whatever, or Western Europe. Whatever. But these two, they can lob rocks across Lake Washington, right, from between Seattle and Bellevue, Redmond area, whatever. I don't know.
The other side of it too is it's not. There's $10 billion on the line. Amazon's going to do whatever they can to try to win it. They don't really care if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I would assume Microsoft would do the same thing if they were on the other side of this. They'd be making the same argument. You give your lawyers something to do and say, hey, look, see if we can win this back. And here we are.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think I think the Amazon one is a little personal because of the White House influence stuff, and
Correct.
Jeff
Yep.
Bezos owns the Washington Post, et cetera. So I do. I mean, I understand the complaints. But like I said, when this thing was an ongoing concern, and who's going to get it, and whatever. I mean, obviously there were only two companies that came anywhere close to qualifying for this, and those are the two that were left at the end, Amazon and Microsoft. And when I look at those two companies, and I think what the DoD is trying to accomplish here, I mean, I think of Microsoft. I don't think of Amazon. I always view Amazon as the back end supplier of cloud services. I don't view them as the solution provider for anything. They just provide the back end service. But whatever. That's the debate, I guess. So it's interesting.
I'm sure this will drag on and continue. Well, I have no idea actually how the DoD does their back end litigation or whatever the hell we're doing. So here we go.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we know it's a government thing, so it probably moves really slow.
It'll be swift and efficient. I think that's fair to say. That is fair to say.
Right.
Also out today because I found it and sent it to Mahedi and you guys, is Microsoft's working on a Smart Compose feature, which is, I believe, basically what Google has, where you start writing and then you can just tab your way through and not actually have to write emails anymore. But that should be coming to Outlook here in the near-ish future, along with Send Later, which, if you want to make it look like you're working later than you actually are, you can now use that feature.
We'll have to turn Tina onto that so she can send things that arrive on Monday. No? Okay.
Yeah, and then did you watch the Xbox thing yesterday?
Yes. Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Opinions? What'd you?
I thought it was awesome. And I mean, I don't really care for most of the games, but that's not what I was looking at. I wanted to see gameplay. I wanted to see the quality of the graphics. And I recommended to a couple people via Skype, like Andrew, you need to watch this the YouTube feed in 4K. You get to see this. And I thought it was awesome. And then later on, I start getting feedback from people like, "Oh, that was terrible," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So what was your take on that?
So I'm sort of in the middle camp. Like I wasn't blown away, but I was like, I get it. The problem for me is that Microsoft leading up to that event was like, we're going to show off tons of gameplay. And what they really showed off were game trailers that were rendered in the game engine. So it's not like it was rendered on a PC. So the graphics were representative, but it wasn't like somebody actually playing the game. So I think that's what they were alluding to was going to be shown, and that's not what they showed.
So I thought it was a mix of that. I thought there was, game trailers show gameplay, right? It wasn't just those interstitial scenes between action sequences. To me, what this was because it really, what did they show? 10 games, 12 at most. Not very many. If you've ever watched an E3 Microsoft or Sony or whatever presentation, you're familiar with this format. They bring a guy out on stage, talks about the game. They show a clip, and then you go on to the next one. And that's what this was. It was like a subset of that. And, specifically 10 or 12 or whatever it was, third-party games. There's going to be another one next month that we'll do, first-party games, I guess. And then, we'll see what they do after that. But it looked to me like, look, we're not having these events this year. So let's, rather than have like one big thing in June, let's give a little here, and grow excitement building up to the launch. And I thought that was fine. I thought it was fine. I will say, and I gotta figure out how to handle this. There is a Eurogamer.net interview with a guy from Microsoft about the Xbox Series X, Jason Ronald. And I got to say, there's a lot of good news in there. He talks a lot about the specifics and everything. Yeah. But he kind of debunks this thing that I've been talking about for a while, that the goal for this generation, right, is 4K resolution, 60 frames a second all the time. And he's like, yeah, actually, that's not going to happen.
Really?
He doesn't say, he doesn't say it exactly that way. I'm trying to find it. Where is this exact thing? Yeah, so he asked the question. He says, Microsoft, because I got this from Microsoft. It's not like I pulled this out of the air. Microsoft has talked about the frame rate Series X will enable. Are you saying that the Xbox Series X effectively ends sub 60 frames per second games, either from Xbox itself or from third parties? And he says, I wouldn't say it ends it. It's like, okay. But now the creative control is in developers' hands. Now that's exactly the story they told with the Xbox One X, that as a developer, you can kind of balance those two sides.
Yep.
He says sometimes from a pure gameplay aspect, 30 frames per second is the right creative decision they can make. But in previous generations, sometimes you had to sacrifice frame rate for resolution. With this generation, now it's completely within the developer's control.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems a
Yeah.
little wishy-washy. I don't know. I think, between the resolution and the, ray tracing capabilities or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I think the important, well, no, and the important thing is what I said, what I thought was the case, and we'll see how that pans out. But if you want to kind of break it down, it's like you want to give hardcore gamers, less of a reason to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a PC,
Yeah.
And I realize it's never going to completely erase it. And I realize also there are people who are like, what are you talking about? We don't want that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, you want to press a button, have the thing turn on, get into the game and play it and have it look awesome,
Yep.
without any fudging around or spending money or whatever. And I feel like this gets there,
Yeah.
I will see.
We will see. Part of it sounds also like a hedge too, right? It's that they can't come out and say that, hey, everything is absolutely going to be 60 frames per second, because there's going to be a game where it's 40 frames per second, and then it's going to be like, but you promised.
We've been dealing with this stuff forever, dude. I don't know if you remember. I think it was Halo 3. Yeah, Halo 3. Like someone at that time, that game probably, let me think about this. That game was almost certainly the first Xbox 360 game. So the anticipation was that it was going to be like HD or something. I don't, probably 720p or whatever it was. And it wasn't. It was like someone proved like, look, and that was the thing. Like, it's like in certain sequences, because there's a lot going on screen, or obviously in multiplayer where you just have to design it a certain way because you can't anticipate everything that's going on. They would actually drop the resolution of the game to get it through that part, and then it would gotta go back up again. And that's the way I remember it. But we're talking about much lower resolutions of that day. But whatever. This is the problem. Like this is always the problem, and now we're dealing with 4K resolutions. We're dealing with 60, not 30 frames a second or whatever it is. It's gotten a lot better,
It has.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get this thing.
Yeah, no, my
And
problem
then
is
wait 30 days for all my Call of Duty stuff to happen because they go to Sony first. And seriously,
that's the problem.
Oh, speaking of which, here's a little Call of Duty tidbit for you. I spent the past week playing through Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered, and seriously, could we come up with like shorter names for these things? I had forgotten how good that single player campaign is. It's awesome. Like, it's awesome. I'd also forgotten there was obviously sequences I remember very well. There's a scene where you go up to like a house at the top of a hill, and then you protect it for a while, then you have to escape. And I remember doing that on Veteran, and it was the hardest part of that game to finish. It was really, really hard. This time I just played through it normal. It was okay. But there were sequences I had forgotten. And one of them, interestingly, is Gulag, which is now in Modern Warfare in Warzone, right? So that Gulag thing where you go, where you're in the prison and is like a circle thing around it and stuff, that is literally from Modern Warfare 2.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it is.
It's in the game. Yeah. It's a good sequence too.
Yeah, and I play in that all the time.
Right.
Because I'm
right.
terrible.
And I had just completely forgotten about that.
Yep. Yeah, they need to bring helicopters back to that game. They took them out briefly because of the glitching. And for many games, early games, my leading weapon of death is actually a helicopter. I love to get in that thing and just like smush people. Just literally just.
Yeah. Oh, just like smush and not shoot them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, like I don't even care about winning. Like I go to the helicopter.
Just like tilt to the blade is toward the ground and it's like you're a lawnmower.
I will absolutely sacrifice my life to chop someone up with the blades every time.
Oh boy! Do they allow in Warzone PC console mixing?
Yes, which I wish they'd turn off.
I think you can. I don't know in Warzone. But
so you technically you are right. You can turn off on the Xbox. You can turn off crossplay. The problem is you're not ever getting into a game.
Oh, because they're just
well, because it's not. Because if you think about it, so let's say you turn it off on your console. That means you have to go find an online room that is only Xbox people, which is 150 people. And so it takes forever. What I wish they would... what they need to do is just make it cross-play between Xbox and PlayStation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
rid of.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, so they actually do it your Xbox only. No, they should make it should be exclude PC.
Yes,
What,
that is what I would, the feature that I would like. I don't care about playing with people with PlayStation.
yeah, they'll have the same limitations you do.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So,
yeah.
they need to bring that, and I'm not sure that they will, but we will see. And then the other sort of news du jour is that old friend Javier is taking over the Google chat experience.
Benedict
And
Javier.
yeah, we're best buds. Is taking over all of Google's communication applications, and I'm sure we'll probably see some condensing.
So the reason this is interesting, aside from the fact that Google has like 117 different communications apps, this is the guy who co-founded Acompli, was brought into Microsoft. They turned his app into Outlook Mobile.
Yep.
He ran Outlook for a while, and then he ran Cortana for 8 months. And of course, Cortana broke him because Cortana is, you know, the rock against which all ships crash. And he,
wow, that's an impressive analogy right there.
he went to Google and is running G Suite, and he's actually been very vocal and public since he took over that job. He's been in the news a lot. He gives interviews. He's the guy that conflated Gmail free users with G Suite paid users to make it look like there were billions of people using G Suite. And now he's taking over the messaging stuff. So we'll see if Google Messaging is Google's Cortana, or as I like to think of it, Google's Vietnam.
God.
I know. I'm on a roll today, but anyway, this is the guy. It's very. This is very interesting to me. I mean, so yeah.
Yeah, one of the jokes that I cracked yesterday, and you'll appreciate this. And so I got my triple shredded mulch, and it's all there. And I was telling Paul before this, whatever. I got my free labor. The neighborhood kids were helping me move it. And one of the kids asked me, they said, you know, are we helping? I said, yeah, you're about as useful as a square basketball. And like, they're all happy about it. And I'm like, just,
like the basketball you would have if we were playing Minecraft.
Yes, exactly. Because they were spilling like half the mulch, of course, on the way to the destination. But now that's all done.
What is it? It's like Our Gang, that kind of little, 1940s cereal with the little kids in the neighborhood, dog with the round thing on his eye. And
yeah, and it's supposed to be, unfortunately, like our timing is perfect for what we typically on Mother's Day. Every year we've done this since we've had, I was going to say since we've had a kid. Usually on Mother's Day is when we like go to the nursery, buy all the flowers, and then that's what we do. Like that is what we have done for, how old's my kid? 6 years now. You got to think about that one.
Gonna be a little quicker on that one, too.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I was thinking because she's almost 7. I was like, well, maybe we did it when she was pregnant because technically, whatever. But the problem is, it's supposed to be cold. Like, I'm not gonna go buy all these flowers and everything and plant them, and then it's gonna freeze, and then they're all gonna die. So I don't know what we're gonna do on Mother's Day. Probably just try to convince her to watch. I want to watch the Mandalorian. What's the one on Disney Plus now? Is it any good?
Yeah, it's worth watching.
Okay, I got to figure
out. It starts off slow. But you've already heard this. I'm not ruining anything to say that Baby Yoda's in this, right? You've heard of this. Everyone has. So when I started watching it, it was new. Baby Yoda was not a thing yet. In the first couple of episodes, I was like, it's Star Wars. I like it. There's way too many references to Star Wars in it, like little bitty things that are everywhere in the movies. And I was like, oh, God, this is such a fan service thing. And then they added Baby Yoda, and I was like, oh, no, this is awesome. By the way, your kid and your wife will want to watch the parts. You'll see scenes of Baby Yoda, and you will call them in to watch those scenes. Like it is amazing. I'm serious. Like your family will enjoy parts of it, not the whole thing, but they'll enjoy parts of it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll be doing that this weekend because tomorrow's supposed to be like decent, but it's going to be cold.
Yeah, it's going to be cold tomorrow.
So whatever. I don't know. You got anything else for today?
No, I don't.
Good. That's how we like it. So we'll catch all of you right back here on Monday, and have yourselves a wonderful weekend, January, month, whatever it is.
Have a nice January Mother's Day.